The sixth station, Veronica wipes the face of Jesus.
From the book of the prophet Isaiah. He had no form or majesty that we should look at him, nothing in his appearance that we should desire him. He was despised and rejected by others, a man of suffering and acquainted with infirmity, and as one from whom others hide their faces, he was despised, and we held him of no account.
I see you, Jesus, wretched and barely recognizable, treated like the least of all people. You walk faltering to your death, your face bleeding and disfigured, yet, as always, meek and humble, looking up. A woman steps out of the crowd to see at close hand that face of yours, which, perhaps, had spoken so often to her soul, and which she loved. She sees its pain and wants to help. They do not let her pass. There are so many of them, all too many, and they are armed. But to her, none of that matters. She is determined to reach you, and for a moment she manages to touch you, caressing you with her veil. Hers is the power of tenderness. Your eyes meet for a second. Face meets face. We know nothing about that woman, Veronica, or her story. She earns heaven with a simple gesture of charity. She approaches you, sees your suffering face, and loves it even more than before. Veronica does not stop at appearances, which today are so important in our image-conscious society. She loves unconditionally a face that is unsightly, marred, unlovely, and imperfect. That face, your face, Jesus, in its very imperfection, shows the perfection of your love for us.
I ask you, Jesus, grant me the strength to approach others, to approach every person, young or old, poor or rich, friends or strangers, and to see your face in all those faces. Help me never to hesitate in coming to the aid of my neighbour, in whom you dwell, even as Veronica came to help you on the way to Calvary.
The seventh station, Jesus falls the second time.
From the book of the prophet Isaiah. By a perversion of justice he was taken away. Who could have imagined his future? For he was cut off from the land of the living, stricken for the transgression of my people. Yet it was the will of the Lord to crush him with pain.
I see you, Jesus, fall once more before my eyes. By falling again, you show me that you are a man, a true person. And I see you get up again, more resolute than before. You do not get up with pride. There is no pride in your gaze. There's love. In continuing on your journey, getting up after each fall, you proclaim your resurrection. You show that you are ready once again and always to bear on your bleeding shoulders the burden of human sin. By falling again, you sent us a clear message of humility. You fell on the ground, on that humus from which we humans are born. We are dust. We are mud. We are nothing in comparison to you. But you want to become like us, and now you show yourself close to us with our troubles, with our weaknesses, the sweat of our brow. Now, on this day, as often happens to us, you overwhelmed by sorrow. But you have the strength to go forward. You are not afraid of the difficulties that lie ahead, and you know that at the end of your struggle, there is heaven. You get up precisely to get there, to open before us the gates of your kingdom. What a strange king you are, a king lying in the dust. Suddenly I'm thrown into confusion. We are not worthy of comparing our efforts and our falls to yours. Your falls are a sacrifice, the greatest sacrifice that my eyes and all of history will ever be able to see.
I ask you, Lord, grant that we may be ready to get up after falling, that we may learn from our failures. Remind us that when it is our turn to make mistakes and fall, if we but stay with you and hold fast to your hand, we can learn to get up again. Grant that we, your people, may bring to everyone your message of humility, that future generations may open their eyes to you and learn to understand your love. Teach us to help those who suffer and fall besides us. Wipe away their sweat and to stretch out a hand to lift them up.
The eighth station, Jesus meets the women of Jerusalem.
From the Gospel according to Luke. A number of the people followed him, and among them were women who were beating their breasts and wailing for him. Jesus turned to them and said, "Daughters of Jerusalem, do not weep for me, but weep for yourselves and for your children. For the days are surely coming when they will say, 'Blessed are the barren and the wombs that never bore, and the breasts that never nursed.' Then they will say to the mountains, 'Fall on us,' and to the hills, 'Cover us.' For if they do this when the wood is green, what will happen when it is dry?"
I see you and I hear you, Jesus, as you speak to the women whom you met on the way to your death. Each day you would meet any number of people. You would approach everyone and talk to all. Now you speak with the women of Jerusalem, who look at you and weep. I too am one of those women. But you, Jesus, speak words of warning that for me are striking. They are so concrete and direct. At first, they might appear harsh and severe, but that is because they are so direct. Nowadays, we are used to a world where people beat around the bush. A cool hypocrisy veils and filters what we really mean. We are unwilling to correct others. We prefer to leave them to their own devices, not bothering to challenge them for their own good. Whereas you, Jesus, speak to the women like a father, also admonishing them. Your words are words of truth, and they are forthright for the soul's sake of correction, not judgment. Yours is a language different from the one we speak. You always speak with humility, and you go straight to the heart of the matter. In this meeting, your last before the cross, we see once more your boundless love for the least, the marginalized. Women in those days were not considered worthy of being spoken to, whereas you, in your kindness, are truly revolutionary.
I ask you, Lord, to grant that together with the women and men of this world, I may become even more charitable towards those in need, even as you were. Give all of us the strength to go against the grain and to enter into authentic contact with others, building bridges and not enclosing ourselves in the selfishness that leads us to the solitude of sin.
The ninth station, Jesus falls for the third time.
From the book of the prophet Isaiah. But he was wounded for our transgressions, crushed for our iniquities. Upon him was the punishment that made us whole, and by his bruises we are healed. All we like sheep have gone astray. We have turned to our own way, and the Lord has laid on him the iniquity of us all.
I see you, Jesus, as you fall for the third time. Twice now you have fallen, and twice you have got up. By now there are no limits to your struggle and your pain. Now in this third and last fall, you seem completely overwhelmed. How many times in everyday life do we fall? We fall so often that we lose count. Yet we always hope that each fall will be the last, because we need the courage of hope to face suffering. When a person falls that many times, ultimately all strength fails and all hope vanishes. I imagine myself beside you, Jesus, as you make your way to your death. It is hard to think that you are the Son of God himself. Someone has already tried to help you, but now you are exhausted, at a standstill, paralyzed. It seems that you cannot possibly go any further. Unexpectedly, however, I see you get up, straighten your legs and your back despite the weight of the cross on your shoulder, and begin to walk once more. Yes, you are walking to your death, but you want to do so to the very end. Perhaps this is love. What I understand is that it makes no difference how many times we will fall. There will always be one last time, perhaps the worst, the most terrible trial, when we are called to find the strength to endure to the end of the journey. For you, Jesus, the end is the crucifixion, that apparent absurdity of death, which nonetheless reveals a deeper meaning, a more sublime purpose, that of saving us all.
I ask you, Lord, grant us every day the courage to go forward on our journey. Grant that we may receive to the very end the hope and the love that you have given us. May everyone confront the challenges of life with the strength and the fidelity which were yours in the final moments of your journey to death on the cross.
The 10th station, Jesus is stripped of his garments.
From the Gospel according to John. When the soldiers had crucified Jesus, they took his clothes and divided them into 4 parts, one for each soldier. They also took his tunic. Now the tunic was seamless, woven in one piece from the top.
I see you, Jesus, naked, as I have never seen you before. They have stripped you of your garments, Jesus, and are casting dye for them. In the eyes of these people, you have lost the last shred of your remaining dignity, your one possession on this, your journey of suffering. At the beginning of time, your Father had sewn garments to clothe people in dignity. Now people strip that garment off your back. I see you, Jesus, and I see a young migrant, his body ravaged, who arrives in a land that all too often is heartless, ready to strip off the garment, their one treasure, and to sell it, to leave them alone with their cross, like yours, alone with their disfigured skin, like yours, alone with their eyes brimming with tears of pain, like yours. Yet there is something we often forget about dignity. It is found beneath your skin. It is a part of you, and it will always be with you, all the more at this moment in this nakedness. The nakedness in which we are born is the same as the nakedness with which the earth will receive us in the evening of our lives. From one mother to another. And now, here on this hill, your mother is also present. Once again, she sees you. I see you, and I understand the grandeur and the splendor of your dignity, the dignity of every person, which no one will ever be able to erase.
I ask you, Lord, grant that all of us may acknowledge the dignity belonging to our nature. Even when we find ourselves naked and alone before others, grant that we may always see the dignity of others, respect it and defend it. We ask you to grant us the courage needed to understand ourselves as more than the clothing we wear and to accept our own nakedness. It reminds us of our poverty with which you fell in love, even to giving your life for us.